I can only imagine.
Come on in, Tom.
Oh, I said I was about to say I can only imagine the Jim is shitting, but
Nope, I'm
he's
back.
back.
I was chatting with our guest.
Oh,
A couple of celebrities just chatting.
I see. Tom Green.
God. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Sam?
Welcome, man. How are you?
Good to see you,
It's
man.
good to see you.
Couple
Thank
of
you.
celebrities just chatting.
Yeah. You already said that, so I don't
That's
know.
right.
You just wanted to
Say it
announce
again.
yourself as a celebrity again?
No, Tom's a celebrity.
But you just said a couple of celebrities.
That's what was happening.
I see.
I happen to love Tom Green.
I see. Well,
This
I love
is cool.
him too.
Good
but-
to see you. I heard you were at my show in Montreal. Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah.
I didn't see you there, but I heard you were there, and then we were tweeting after.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
I love
right.
Montreal, and I saw you in
do.
Montreal.
Yeah, we did radio, but separate times.
Right.
And like in the same station. I imagine you draw a lot better than I do. I do okay up there, but not amazing.
That's weird because you guys are just a couple of celebrities.
We are, but we're different celebrities from different countries.
What? Oh,
I grew
Canada.
up-
Yeah.
I'm almost from Montreal. I'm from Ottawa, which is an hour and a half drive down the road.
I've been there once. It's a nice place.
Yeah, it's the capital. It's a nice conservative city. We've got the Parliament buildings.
Oh.
It's very.
Be popular in Ottawa? You must be.
Yeah. I mean, depending on who you ask, I guess. you
Yeah.
know.
How did
I tour up in Canada quite a bit. So yeah.
How did the conservative town take to you when you started becoming very famous for doing things that were not conservative? I'd say.
It was. I think that I sometimes think that the show would never have really happened if I wasn't from Ottawa, because it's very non-intimidating, the city. Like, you can go out in the street and barge up to people with a camera,
Right.
and you don't feel like they're going to kill you.
Right.
You just feel like
Sure.
they're going to get confused and kind of wander away. And that was always fun to watch, the confusion on the sort of uptight conservative nature of the city and the politics and everyone walking into their government jobs. And so, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good place to start out a guerrilla man on the street
then
TV show.
yeah.
You're saying you get to America, and like you realize people will kill you, but you've already started this thing. So
Someone just asked me about this in the hallway. This video I did. It was the very first video I shot when we went to MTV. It's called Undercutter's Pizza.
can I tell you
We
something?
went over to
Travis and myself. Travis is our Phil. He's in the booth right there.
Yeah.
Next to you.
Yeah. What's up, Travis?
Travis and I probably amongst ourselves bring up undercutters.
Undercutters.
Probably at least once every 2 weeks. like
What's
every
undercutters?
So I dressed up as
pizza
a pizza
business.
delivery guy, and I have a plain cheese pizza and a fishing tackle box full of pizza toppings, and I follow the real pizza guy to his delivery in Long Island, and then when I walk up to the house with the pizza guy, wondering why I'm following him, the guy comes out to buy his pizza. I quickly make the same pizza and offer to sell it to him for cheaper. Undercutters. But then the guy who is there working on his car from Long Island then attacks me with a hammer, basically. And so that was my
Why?
first. I was just mad that I was on his property.
And Tom
You know,
explains
yeah.
to him, "I'm just trying to offer you a pizza for cheaper."
Yeah, mad that I was pointing a camera at him and stuff. But it was like, that was sort of like,
just-
welcome to New York, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, well, Americans are different than people from Ottawa.
Oh, that's
Is that
so
right?
funny. You get the tackle box of toppings.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
just so ballsy, though. You walk right next to the pizza delivery guy.
That right there was literally our first shoot, because I did the show for many years in Canada on public television, public access, and then this was the first one where we went and shot with the MTV crew. I remember we went back to the office in Times Square at Viacom, and all the producers were all kind of freaked out. This
Okay,
guy
there's the guy with the hammer.
Yeah.
Oh, and he kicked your tackle
Yeah.
box. Oh.
That was real, too.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was such a character.
He went back to get the
He
tackle
was,
box.
This guy was such a character. It was just sort of made the whole bit. You know?
Yeah.
So-
That's obviously a better reaction.
Yeah.
Do you kind of refocus after that and go like, okay, we should do things that might not result in me getting threatened with a hammer, or do you go, we're in now, we got MTV, this is what we got to be doing?
It was always kind of like, if you could get to somewhere around that line where the hammer comes out, but you don't get hit by the hammer.
I
you
see
know?
when he
I see,
follows
that's
you.
And I actually see you hear me saying in the video at this point, I'm talking to the camera guy. I'm saying, this is the line, Matt.
Go. We're going. We're sorry. We're from Undercutters.
This is the line, Matt. Because the camera guy didn't really quite know the drill yet.
Yeah. He didn't know when it was time to really go.
Yeah, he was sort of like trying to walk up to the guy and get a shot. I'm like, no, this
you have to
is
get
where we
clearance from
run.
this guy,
This is
right?
where we run. We did have to get clearance for him. That was a whole interesting thing.
How did you do
you-
that? You had to pay him, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think they did pay him a few bucks. Yeah,
We were
yeah.
already offering him a pizza for cheaper. You would think that
Yeah.
money wouldn't be such an issue,
Yeah.
right?
Undercutters.
You know,
So what do? You just go like, do the producers go, look, we're doing a TV show. This is for MTV. We'll give you $100. Like, we just sign off.
So we sent some production assistants back over to his house and you know, talked him into it. And
was he better natured about it when he realized what it was?
Yeah, he ended up doing an interview for about the prank for VH1. Said that was one of the, I know, they did a funniest pranks show, and he did an interview for it, and he was pretty funny in that too. He was you know, I think sometimes it was like my parents. I did a lot of pranks on them. They'd get angry in the midst of it.
Sure.
Right.
But then once they kind of cool down, they realize, oh, it's kind of funny.
Sure.
People like to see themselves on TV, you know.
How long did it take you when your parents saw themselves on TV freaking out because of the Slutmobile?
Yeah.
Did they? Because, you know, what you did was overnight you painted their car with a pornographic image on the hood.
Yeah.
And you wrote Slutmobile on it.
Yeah.
And then when it was time for them to go to work,
There's my dad in his trench coat. Yeah.
Were you in the car filming him?
I was hiding in this little, basically a bin that we kept the garbage in that was right beside the car. And I got in that at about 6 in the morning. I was filming this myself.
yeah, and so your dad's now walking to work. He's walking to the bus stop or wherever.
Yeah.
And he's furious because he can't drive his car to work because there's
He is
pornography on
furious,
the
but
hood.
you see him sort of start to crack a smile right about here because he kind of realizes
that Slutmobile
it's
is funny?
Kind of.
There it is.
He's like, what the heck?
Because he realized it was funny?
Yeah, I think he kind of realized, what the frig.
And so after that, was he okay with it?
Yeah, you know, see, my dad's a bit of a ham, to say that he's a funny guy. So he kind of like we had to do a lot of the pranks like in the middle of the night just to kind of get him kind of off guard.
Because otherwise he's playing for camera and stuff.
Or do extreme things that there was no way they'd be happy about. Like the first big one was when I painted the whole house, multiple colors and stuff. Plaid, we call it. It was really just cross-hatched, you know, crappy
Right,
paint
because
job.
they own the house.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they've invested a lot of money.
So the white part of the house, we painted that. I painted that once, you know.
Plaid.
Yeah, and you know, my parents, you know, were you know, hard working, you know, middle class. You know, they didn't, you know, they didn't just like. You know,
Oh.
Well, they blurred out the pornographic image because it was on television.
Oh.
And what Tom did to the hood of his parents' car was so inappropriate that you couldn't show it on TV.
What was it?
Well, it's just kind of some pornography, you know.
What actions was it?
Two ladies enjoying each other's time together, you know.
Was it a?
And you drove it alongside your dad, right?
Yeah, then I do drive it to the bus stop, which was actually, that's always the fun part about making these videos, was that wasn't really something that I sort of foresaw when we thought of the bit, was the driving it to the bus stop.
Okay, it's a woman going down on another woman.
There we go. There's the image of it.
That's what it is.
The funniest part of the video is actually when I drive it to the bus stop at the end, because there's all the neighbors are sitting there looking at this, and it was not a. What
were you saying?
Well, it was just them looking at the image. You know, was.
Did they know it was his car?
Who's filming it?
I'm filming it all.
Oh.
Yeah, I filmed it all.
And they knew
I didn't normally film everything, but in this bit I did, because I had to hide in that box because they could see out into the front. I wanted to get the shot of him looking at the hood.
Sure.
For the very first time.
And then exactly. And I wanted to be right there. So we didn't normally do hidden camera, though. We never hid the camera. So
Right. But in this case, it was necessary. Did neighbors know it was his car when you drove up to the bus stop?
Yeah.
You know what was very funny, too, is you took all the furniture out and put farm animals in the house?
Yeah.
You like that prank?
Boy, did I.
Yeah. It's you know, it's great being in New York, man, because like that was sort of like the thing about you know, for me, was like that was the moment that I kind of realized, oh, like I actually got a job in television. MTV's picked us up, and they moved me down here to New York City, and you know, I'm at Caroline's all weekend. I come here maybe, you know, I'm not in New York as much as I'd like to be in New York, but every year or so.
Are you just on the road a lot?
On the road, traveling, touring full time.
Do you like life on the road?
I do like it. Yeah, I do like it. I mean, it gets a little tiring sometimes, constantly traveling, but I do love it. And I started doing stand up when I was a teenager, and you know, when I was 16, and I did it till I was about 20, and you know, I quit. I quit when I went back to school and did broadcasting school, and I kind of regretted that for a long time.
How long did you quit for?
About 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, yeah, but you kind of branched out and did other things.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
But
It was
you're
when
still
I was-
working at
basically
Hilarious.
I basically started doing the show. I kind of felt like doing the show was kind of like doing stand-up. I mean, I'd write jokes and we'd do the thing for the audience and everything, but I wasn't touring. I didn't. So then maybe 10 years ago, I just started doing stand-up again and really started doing it really for the first time in some ways. I never was on the road, living
Right,
life
you
on
were
the road.
young, yeah.
But when I was a teenager, I was at Yuck Yucks in Ottawa, and I would go down there every week, a couple times a week, and just be at the club. And I was a huge fan of Harland Williams,
Sure.
and Norm Macdonald, and Jeremy Hotz were the guys that were kind of the Canadian headliners at the time, who had not made it in the U.S. yet, and Harland was like 24 or something like. Now he's basically one of my best friends. Harland and I, we just did we do shows together and stuff. And
Do you do full weekend somewhere, or do you go do one night and leave?
I do full weekends, yeah. Like I'm in Caroline's Friday
right,
and
right.
Saturday. But yeah, I'm doing Laugh Boston is coming up. I'm doing that club. I'm going to be at Governor's. I think I'm doing a one-nighter at Governor's, and then I'm doing Stress Factory. I'm doing a weekend there in a few weeks. So yeah, I go all over the country, and yeah, I like doing the weekends. I do one-nighters too, but I like doing the weekends. I like to settle in and settle in, spend some time in the city, not have to move as much, not have to travel as much. But yeah, that's cool. I just did Israel, just did a show in Israel for the first time.
Where in Israel?
Tel Aviv, and just did one. I did a one show there, and all over England, and I mean it's pretty. MTV blasted the show around the world.
Kind of
so
amazing,
It's
right?
kind of a lucky break for
So when
me
you went
that
to-
they did that, because I can go play Australia now, and they, sometimes people are coming out to the show. Certainly when I started touring again, they were coming out to. They didn't even know what the show was going to be.
Right.
It's like,
Right. Is it gonna be stand up or something weird?
yeah. The first few years of touring, it was a lot of people yelling out lines from "Freddie Got Fingered" and stuff like that. But now, that's why I like playing comedy clubs, and people know how to behave at a comedy show.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes,
You find that they don't sometimes as well. Yeah, you're always. I'm sure you're always
late
going
show
to.
Friday. They get a little too drunk.
Can be a little much. Yeah.
You get that bachelorette party that's yelling out the Bum Bum song
Yeah.
or something like that, and you're like, I don't want to.
Yeah. It can happen.
I just
but
want to do my jokes right now.
It can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I
You're a
get
very
it.
creative, funny guy though. Like Tom's talk show. Like you have all these things you do. You're very innovative.
Yeah. I just when people don't give you a job
Right.
in broadcasting, I've just sort of. And that's sort of consistently been the case with me. I have to go make my own.
Well,
thing.
you went to broadcasting
So
school.
I made the show because nobody would ever give me a show, right? And then a few years later, after MTV, I wanted to do a show. Nobody was giving me a show, so I built a web studio in my living room.
Right.
A few years after that, I'm like, maybe I'll go do stand up. I'm not sort of. Consistently sort of getting work handed to me, so I have to create my own sort of weird opportunities sometimes.
Who was more
as we all do.
Who's more upset with you? Your parents after the Slutmobile, or Glenn Humplick after you put his cell phone number out into the middle of Times Square for everybody to see?
You guys, like a lot of the details.
I do.
You know a lot of the.
I
ins
do.
and
I
outs.
was a big fan.
So that was a mistake.
I mean, that's a funny thing to do.
That was a mistake, actually, an actual mistake. So,
like you didn't mean to actually give out the number?
yeah, we were doing a contest where we were going to give out one number from Glenn's phone number every week.
Okay.
And,
And Glenn didn't know.
And there was a Wheel of Fortune type thing where the numbers turn around, and his phone number was on the back. And if you turned each number around, you would see one number. It was in the Times Square studio
Right.
at MTV. And we kind of miscalculated and didn't realize that the back was pointing at the window. And there's always like 100 kids standing out in the street.
Sure.
So they got the number, the kids on the street.
Because it's behind the sign,
Behind the
which
sign.
is in front of a window, which you
Yeah,
can clearly
so
see.
they got the number, then they put it on the internet, and then his number was ruined. So
Was he mad at you?
He was very mad at me, yeah. Glenn was
Yeah.
mad at
But you made it into a thing for the show. You were like, look, I mean, we did this by mistake, but it's kind of funny that it happened. So
Glenn and I don't talk anymore, actually.
how come?
I think he's mad at me.
For what?
For what?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to, next time I talk to him, it's been about 15 years since I've talked to Glenn.
Wow.
I mean, there must have been something that he got mad at, though.
Might have been all of the things added up together.
Everything. He just decided no more.
What was the last time you talked to him?
When? It was like 15 years
No,
ago.
but I mean, was there an argument or?
Yeah, we had a little falling out. I don't want to get into the details of it, but it was kind of like, you know, like things got a little weird there for a minute in my life, you know. I mean, we moved down here. We all came down to L.A. together, my friends and I, who were kind of helping on the show, and you know, everything, just life got weird, and then some of them moved back, and maybe we're kind of,
It's weird when the show gets huge and you become a giant celebrity, right?
You know, there was just some issues that arose. I don't like to talk about
possibly jealousy too. One
no,
guy.
I don't think it was so much that. No, I just I don't know.
Are you mad at him or is he mad at you?
That's a good question. I'm not mad at him. No.
Okay.
I'm not mad at him. I think I was mad at him for a minute.
You are.
And he was also mad at me. And then he was mad that I was mad at him. And now he might think that I'm mad at him. I don't know, but I'm not mad at him anymore.
Do you want to reach out? Or
I have reached out. To be honest with you, I think there is sort of a slight, and this, by the way, you know, probably, I don't know, maybe because you know the show well, only interesting to you and a select amount of people that really are into the weeds of the politics of my old show. We're talking about my co-host on the show.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a lot of love for Glenn Humplick. You know, I do, and we started the show in the early years of doing the show. I met him when I was doing college radio at Ottawa University, and I would go in at midnight till 2 a.m. every Friday night and do this phone-in talk show, and he was on from 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. playing industrial music, and we would meet as we passed at 2 in the morning in the studio, and that's how we became friends. So, you know, we have mutual friends. You know, Phil, who's the guy that drinks the coffee in the window on the show, and he's still friends with both of us.
How did you reach out? In what method?
Just through Phil. Phil is
how long ago?
You know, basically, you know, somewhat semi-regularly we talk about this because Phil is, you know, one of my best friends, if not my best friend. I'm sure he's my best friend. I guess I've known him since I was 14 years old, and you know. We're you know, it's funny how he's my best friend, you know. It's like, you know, but I know that I have other good friends too, and no offense to my other friends.
Sure.
But he's number one.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's better than the other ones.
I would say so.
The best.
I'd say he's the best friend.
Yeah.
Oldest friend.
So you reached out recently?
Yeah, like, well, because I go home to Ottawa a lot every summer because my parents are there, my brother's there, and you know, I go home every, you know, when I was up in Montreal after I saw you in Montreal, my parents live on a lake. So it's like you go home to see your parents. It's like vacation. It's like going on vacation up there. Canada's beautiful in the summer. The winter, it's not so.
A little rough.
A little rough up there.
Did you at any point fall into like Hollywood world where because you go from public access show in Canada, just like nobody's going to give me a job, so I just make this thing up, and me and my buddies are doing this wacky show, to become like, you know, within a year or two of being in the States, you're one of the most recognizable people anywhere. You know what I mean? You're completely...
The weirdest thing about MTV was it's different than today, right?
Yeah.
MTV was I sometimes say MTV is kind of like took the place of what almost like the entire internet does now. You know, like if you cared about music, if you cared about, you know, pop culture, you go to MTV. So all young people would go watch MTV. Everybody would watch MTV. Now people go to YouTube. They watch music videos on YouTube. Everyone, you know. So it was sort of a shell shock, you know, like you know, I was excited when the show got picked up. We didn't have MTV in Canada either back then, so I know what MTV was, you know, but I didn't really grow up with it. I didn't grow up with it, so I didn't really understand how pervasive it was in American society. You know, when the show was on MTV, like they started running promos, and the way it worked back then on MTV, like there's the promo department was bigger than the programming department because basically MTV just ran promos all day.
Yeah.
So before the show was even on the air, they were running these promos all day of the show, which was clips, goofy clips. And, you know, it was like literally like a week after I moved to New York, it was sort of, we couldn't walk around in Times Square outside without everybody knowing the show. So it was sort of surreal. It was definitely a bit of a culture shock.
You are ready for it. How many years were you on here?
I was only in New York for a year, actually. Then I moved out to Los Angeles with the show, and we did the show out there for another season in Los Angeles.
How many years on MTV did it run?
They ran it for about 4 years, but I was really on MTV only for about a year and a half.
Because you had a lot of that was shot in Canada.
Yeah, most of it was shot in Canada, and then we were actually doing the show on MTV for about a year and a half. Then I quit the show when I got cancer. People think the show got canceled. The show did not get canceled.
How did you find out you had cancer? Were you sick? I mean, you might have told us, I just don't remember.
I had my right testicle was kind of swollen.
What?
I just kind of like, I don't know. I get to a little. I don't know. I'm not trying to make you guys think about
Your testicles?
Yeah.
I was thinking about them anyway.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's weird talking about. No, I mean I talk about it a lot actually. So
Your testicles?
actually, honestly, I just felt like after saying that, and then I paused,
Yeah.
and then the uncomfortable pause. I know you're not uncomfortable. You definitely don't seem uncomfortable with it.
No.
It just seemed like an interesting time to pause.
Just to swim in that sort of like.
I just wanted to pause there.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, listen, I'll tell you this, like, young guys out there listening, you can get cancer in your testicles. They took my right testicle. I still have my left testicle. Everything's fine. But, you know, if you ever feel like anything's wrong, go to the doctor right away because you will die if you don't go to the doctor.
But you caught it early.
I caught it early, and I fortunately was paranoid enough to go to the doctor right away. And we filmed it all, and we made a show out of it, and put it on MTV.
How long after you found out did they cut it out?
Like almost immediately, yeah. Yeah, they go and they don't hack through your scrotum. You know?
No?
They don't.
How do they get it?
They don't go through your scrotum. My scrotum.
You'd think they just open the
completely
bottom
intact.
and pop it out the
In the
bottom.
stomach,
no,
right?
no, they cut you up like sort of in your abdomen, you know, it's kind of like under your like sort of
Why?
under your pubic area.
Under, like in the taint area?
Just like right up there, you know.
Oh, above.
Yeah, just
I see.
above.
I
And then
see.
they go in from above, and then they kind of like shuck it out like an oyster.
Why do they do that? It
They
seems...
shuck it out like an oyster,
Yeah,
Sam.
yeah,
Were you awake for this?
I've heard.
No, you're under general, and but
Why do they do it that way? Why do they shuck it out like an oyster?
well, I think it's just easier.
A lot of veins and tubes and
yeah,
whatnot. things
easier
of that
way to
nature.
go in through. You know,
You'd think if they just opened the bottom, they could just kind of open up, it would
that'll
fall
probably
out.
heal bad, and then your scrotum's all stitched up. You
You don't
know?
want your scrotum being stitched.
Franken scrotum.
Right.
Yeah,
So now that
I've said that before.
how long were you off? Why would they cancel your show? It seems like a relatively quick operation.
No, they didn't
They
cancel
didn't
it.
cancel
Oh,
it.
why
quit.
did it end though?
I quit.
Do you regret it?
No, I don't. I actually went back a couple years later, did another show with them.
The talk show, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I had like I basically did a bunch of movies, and I was on, like the real reason I stopped though is because like they did this thing called a lymph node dissection, which is the real invasive surgery where they cut me up from here to here.
Oh my God.
And they take your intestines out of your body, and then they go back and they cut your lymph nodes off the back of your spine.
Jeez.
And then they look at them under a microscope to see if you've got cancer in your lymph nodes.
That's the only way to test, or they have a better test now?
They have an MRI, which they did, and the MRI said that there was no cancer, but there's like a 1% chance if the cancer was just fresh there, it was too microscopic to see. There's a 1% chance that the cancer's there. So then this is the thing about cancer that's like interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
And kind of a drag also, is it's all about these sort of choices you have to make based on percentages, based on research that might not be completely accurate. You know, they've learned a lot more about cancer even since I had it, but testicular cancer. But so they say, okay, with testicular cancer, to give you a little scientific sort of way it works, okay?
Please.
You get testicular cancer, you get your ball is swollen, they do an ultrasound, they can tell you got cancer. So then they know it spreads from there to the lymph nodes, from the lymph nodes to the lungs, from the lungs to the brain. Lance Armstrong had it all the way up to his brain, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
And he's fine, right?
It's highly susceptible to chemotherapy if you get the right testicular cancer.
Yeah.
I forget which one. You know, there's melanoma or seromas. I forget what they're called. I actually forgot what they're called. But so regardless, because they know the direction it spreads, it goes to your lymph nodes first. If it's not in your lymph nodes, you don't have to have chemotherapy, right? If it's in your lymph nodes, you have to have radiation chemotherapy. So they did the MRI. They said, well, you know, it's not in your lymph nodes, but there's a 1% chance it's in your lymph nodes. So here's your choice: we'll cut your body open we'll gut you.
Right.
And it's going to be the most painful thing that you've ever been through in your entire life. And you're going to be like, you know, probably not able to walk for a couple of months, really.
Months?
Well. Yeah. You know, you won't even be able to get out of bed for like 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then you're going to be in the hospital for like 5 weeks. And it's going to really, really suck. But you'll know that you don't have cancer anymore. And you won't have to have chemo. But if we take your lymph nodes out and we look at them and it is in there, then you have to have the chemo, right?
So couldn't you have just gotten the chemo to be preventative?
We could, and that was another choice. Yeah, that's another choice. Or we could just give you the chemo, but the choice was wait 6 months and we'll see if it grows, and if it shows up, then you get the chemo. And so I didn't, you know, my choice was, well, I don't want to sit around for 6 months not knowing if I got cancer and then have to have chemo anyway. So I'm just going to take them out. And I did that, and it was an unnecessary surgery because I didn't have it. So
But it's nice to know that it's unnecessary.
Yeah, they went in there and fucked around, saw your lymph nodes, saw you're okay.
Yeah.
And they put everything, so you have a big scar on your chest?
Yeah.
And now
Wanna see
you...
it?
Yeah,
I do.
sure.
It's pretty good.
Definitely.
Pretty good.
Oh, that's actually,
wow,
because you have a
it's going
hairy
all the
chest,
way
that's
up.
not as bad as I thought.
there you go.
So they went in there and take everything
You
out.
gotta go all the way down?
I'm not going to keep going.
The risk
Okay.
for infection must
Hold
be
on.
great, though.
You know, yeah, it was in the hospital. Yeah, it was probably, you know, I had like, you know, tubes coming out of me and stuff.
How painful was it? Was it as bad
It
as
was
they said?
literally, so we were filming for the show, and the morning after the surgery, Glenn Humplick shows up, and I was like in sort of a fetal position, basically screaming in pain the whole first day after the surgery.
Don't they load you up with shit?
I had morphine epidural going into my spine, and you know, Glenn walked in the room. My parents were sitting there, like my mom was probably crying. I was probably crying, and it was really bad. I think that changes you though. Like when you realize like pain can be that bad. It was
Really?
sort of like a burning. Like my whole spine felt like it was burning, you know, and so I don't really feel pain anymore because like it's never.
So your tolerance went so high
it's
that like the other stuff doesn't bother you.
It was as bad as they said.
Yeah, it was worse than I could have ever imagined. Actually,
I'm surprised even with an epidural of morphine.
Yeah. It was for about the first 24 hours. It was just like, and then it sort of faded a bit. So
Did you think at one point this is never going to leave?
I thought that, yeah, and you know, honestly, it didn't really fully. I was not really fully pain free for probably about 10 years, actually.
10 years?
Yeah. Possibly permanent. I mean, actually, probably I still have a little bit of pain from it now.
But you don't
actually.
even notice it because it was so
Because
bad.
it's so much less than it was.
Wow.
Jesus Christ, that's
Yeah.
a really invasive operation.
Yeah,
What is it that hurts so bad? What do they do that hurts so much?
I think it's just nerve damage.
Oh.
So they cut through all the stuff, and then your nerves get like, you know, it's.
Plus
they don't-
scraping shit off your spine.
You
like,
kind of think you think like when you think you cut someone over and just sew it up and you heal and you're back to normal, but it's not really like that.
Right.
It's you're permanently.
Why
screwed.
didn't you do chemo?
Well, I didn't have to. Yeah. Oh
No. Instead of that, now looking back, knowing what you know, would you have just gotten the preventative chemo? Just and
No.
dealt
Well,
with it?
what I could have done is I wouldn't have even had to have done chemo. I could have actually just waited, and I would gone into the doctor every month or every 2 weeks or something for 6 months. And if it hadn't appeared in 6 months, then I would have known it was not there. So I sort of think to myself sometimes, but the choice was, then do you got to spend 6 months thinking, oh my God, do I have cancer in my body? You know,
right.
But if they
that's
catch it
torture
that
itself.
early, if they're checking for it every 2 weeks and they catch it, you're brand new.
Then
I mean, they're
I
catching
would
you
probably,
fresh.
I would probably, knowing now may be different, but if you don't,
So if I would have waited this is the weird thing about these choices. I waited 6 months.
Yeah.
Then it showed up. Then they would have had to do the surgery, take it out, and give me chemo. So I still would have had to have the surgery. Although,
Oh wait, if they found it in 2 weeks, you would have needed the surgery anyway.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I
I
thought you
probably
killed it
would've-
with chemo.
I
Yeah,
probably would have
yeah.
done the surgery just because
Yeah.
you think it's probably not going to be that bad and we'll be done.
Yeah. But now then you go, man. I'm not a gambler. I always take the most conservative
Yeah.
approach to everything. The other thing is then you find out quicker that it's in there. So this was sort of like the most aggressive approach to fighting the cancer because, yeah, this is a weird, serious.
It is.
Yeah,
It's weird.
I wouldn't like
it
that.
is interesting though because I have like I actually have kids that come up to me, kids like they're probably in their 40s a lot of times, but at my shows like because they come up at my stand-up shows who like saw that special,
Yeah.
and, went and got
So
diagnosed with
when
cancer.
you're sitting there in recovery and getting better and everything, are you thinking to yourself like, first of all, physically, I'm not doing the show right now, but in general, I just don't want to do the show anymore.
Right, so that's how we got into this. So I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't really want to go out in the street and get chased by guys with hammers.
Right.
And I had, the opportunity to go do that movie Road Trip, and then I made the movie Freddy Got Fingered.
Cult classic,
Yeah.
Freddy Got Fingered.
Which I wrote and directed, so I was kind of like basically consumed
Wearing
with
many
that.
hats.
Yeah, for 2 years I was basically like working on that.
Right.
And I was sort of like had the ability to leave the show because of being sick and go do that, so I did that. But
Yeah.
I think if I had not gotten cancer, I would not have quit the show.
And that's when Jackass came around, right after that.
Yeah.
How many
So
years after? A year after?
I think it was pretty much right after. Yeah, right after.
Yeah, they kind of stole a bunch of your shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I know all the guys, and I don't know that it was like that so much. I don't know. I mean, they did do a lot of the exact same things that I did.
Okay, that's kind of what I meant by that in more colloquial terms.
I'm not sure I'm not sure how that went down. I mean, I was surprised. I got to admit, I was surprised when I, sort of woke up, 6 months later, and sort of, hey, here, Bam just painted his parents' house. I'm like, what? Painted the house. I mean, painted the house. They just put animals in the house.
Yeah. Hey,
They didn't do that one, did
Johnny
they?
Knoxville's dressed up as an old man, crashing into stuff in an electric wheelchair. I'm
That's
like,
right.
But that's my bad.
What about with
Oh,
the
you
one
did that?
where the one guy gets on crutches
Yeah.
and he puts a cast on his leg,
Yeah.
he keeps falling down in the pharmacy?
So I was kind of bummed about that at first, but then I kind of like don't even know if they knew, like because like they have like the way it works at MTV is like there's tons of writers and producers, and they're just like everything gets written down on a piece of paper, and it's got to get approved by the network,
Right.
And then the network says, okay, go do this, and then you're assigned something that you're allowed to do. So I don't even really know if they knew. I've never actually asked them. I don't even know if they know like that they were doing.
So
my
they
bits.
might just have like an MTV list of here's the pranks we're going to do.
Yeah.
MTV might have known this is where we got them from, but they just got this list.
Well, I'll tell you the weirdest part about this whole subject is I
Yeah.
get asked about this every time I am on a radio show, which when touring doing stand-up is every day.
Right.
I'm on the radio.
So you have to talk about this every single...
Well, and I always feel bad because I'm buddies with Steve-O, Johnny Knoxville. I mean, I love these guys, and I love Jackass. I love
Why
the
don't you
show.
just ask them? If you have to talk about it every day, why don't you just ask them?
No, I don't really care. It's more like I feel weird. Like I don't want to go around. I'm not like hating on Jackass or anything.
No,
like
but
that,
I mean, just so that
How
way
does-
you could
so
go
you know
on
the answer,
the next
yeah.
time, one of us hacky jocks asks you the same
Yeah.
Jackass question, you
No,
could
I'm not
be
saying
like,
that either.
I didn't.
I'm
take
just
it that
saying. I'm
way.
just saying like.
We're shock jocks.
I'm just saying I don't want the guys thinking that I'm going around, talking smack or whatever. Because
No.
I thought Jackass was complete. First of all, the thing to say about Jackass is there's probably a lot of. There's a lot more different about that show than there was the same.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
they
true.
were
And I mean,
more
I love Jackass
from
too.
the
obviously,
skateboard
but, yeah.
culture and
I didn't like it because someone could have got hurt.
yeah.
That's never been your cup of tea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't like that.
Yeah.
I'll go for that.
When you went on and did the talk show
Yeah.
after the Tom Green show, and it was the kind of, late night talk show thing for MTV, and the guy came in and destroyed your desk, and you got super fucking pissed about it.
Yeah.
Who did it? Sorry.
I think it was like the lead singer from like
Jesse James Dupree from Jackal.
Jackal.
Yeah.
Jackal was the band.
Yeah. Jackal is a chainsaw guitarist.
Yeah, and he chainsawed
Yeah.
your desk up,
Wow.
Yeah.
and you got super fucking pissed about it on the show.
I did get pissed about it. Yeah.
Did you in that moment go like, oh, this is probably how all those people that I was fucking with felt?
No. Well, what was going through my mind in that? This is an interesting. I mean, do you want to get into the weeds on
Please
this?
do.
Yeah.
Let's go deep. You can go.
Okay.
You can find the clips everywhere. Tom Green.
Because this
after-
is controversial.
I love controversy.
I don't go for that on this show. Though.
I know.
As long as we're not pulled
In
into
my
it.
life, this is controversial because on the internet, this gets controversial.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, because people have had a hard time sort of understanding the dynamic of what was going on in my mind when I got mad at a guy for chainsawing my desk, something that I've done myself in the past. I chainsawed my own desk.
Right. They try to call out the hypocrisy.
They
of the
try to
whole
call
thing.
out the hypocrisy.
Right.
Of it. But what they don't understand is that, like, to me, like, my favorite thing in the world growing up was when Letterman got mad at his guest because the guest did something that he wasn't supposed to do. When Crispin Glover tried to kick Letterman and then he got kicked off the show. This was, when Harvey Picar came on the show and was a jerk to Dave, or when, all the stuff that happened. Yeah, and then Letterman would get mad, and you knew he was actually mad. That was the best TV. Right?
Sure.
That was the best TV. And, when you do a talk show, nobody really ever does anything that they're not supposed to do.
Right.
So you never really are actually mad. So in this situation, he came out. We asked him to come out and play.
Is that inside your house, that floor?
No,
that's
this
the
is this is on
talk
MTV.
show.
Yeah.
Oh,
This was in Burbank, in beautiful downtown Burbank. And we built this studio, and that was the new Tom Green show. It was called. We were doing the show 5 nights a week, live or daily, day and date.
The way the Tonight Show's done.
Yeah. So he was not supposed to saw up the desk. Now there's a subtlety to the reason why I got mad, though. So we tried to basically recreate sort of the feeling of Johnny Carson's original New York set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that desk is actually, if you go online and look at pictures of Johnny Carson's early black and white New York set, that desk is very similar to the exact way that...
Did he cut it in half or just right?
He just did that, but we had that desk built, to
And now
look
he's-
like Johnny's desk.
Sure.
And he cut a
cost
corner
like
off,
it
too,
cost
yeah.
a lot of money. It was like Hollywood set design company. Says, okay, well, that's gonna be. And I was producing the show, and MTV didn't really want to spend like $10,000 to make a desk when we could have got one at IKEA.
Were people going crazy in the audience when he did it, though?
Yeah, everyone was having fun. Yeah, woo! But then I was like mad because I just got in a huge argument with my. This was like the first week of the show. I just fought to like build this desk with the, I mean, they throw money around at MTV, like $10,000's not that much to them, but they was
But you had to fight for it.
Yeah, and then I knew our beautiful Johnny Carson homage desk, is now ruined, and what are we going to do? And tomorrow night is going to have this crap written on it.
Did you get mad at him right there?
So right there, I'm mad.
Let's see what he says.
Yeah, and
like this.
Yeah, okay.
So I figure what the...
I hope so.
yeah, I'm
You're
sort
gonna
of,
have to.
I'm stewing right. I told him, "Are you going to pay for the desk?"
All right.
That's
No,
what
actually.
send a bill to the record company.
What's that?
That's what record company.
Okay, I hope they're prepared for pay for it, because
There
I'd
you
be
go.
awesome pissed off right now. No, I mean, no, I'm actually kind of really pissed off right now. Are you angry about this? or-
Did I know about this? Yeah. He told me to do it. No.
That's Bert Dubrow, our producer, who actually started the Jerry Springer show, which, interestingly enough, this is starting to look a little bit like him.
Yeah.
But so I'm asking him now whether or not he knew that he was going to do that, and he's
you're-
saying no.
Your thought is like, I'm really pissed right now.
Yeah. So
So what's good TV is I'm going to go with this feeling.
So there's actually kind of like, I actually was like, yeah, exactly. I'm going to actually like to really run with the fact that I'm angry and let everyone know that I'm angry and not pretend that I'm not angry and
Right.
And let that honesty come out. And because I remember like when I was in high school, I had this VHS tape of this one time Harvey Picar was on, another testicular cancer survivor. He's no longer alive, but
didn't die from the cancer.
yeah, he didn't know.
so
But they
technically.
did made that movie about him a few years ago, American Splendor. He's
Right.
a comic book artist.
Right.
And he would go on Letterman. He's a New York guy, and he was completely, sort of would always get in arguments with Dave. And I remember one time.
Did Dave like him, though?
He did, but I remember he started getting aggressive with Dave, and I think Dave banned him from the show at one point. And, I remember one point, Letterman got mad at him and was just like, oh, yeah, okay, Harvey, yeah, thanks for coming on the show with your little, he had this comic book, with your little rainy day fun for boys and girls weekly reader pamphlet here, or whatever. And I remember he had this line, rainy day fun for boys and girls weekly reader pamphlet, And I just played that over and over and again because I just saw that, like, the sort of the carnage of that moment. And so, then in this moment, I'm actually holding him CD at one point. I'm going, yeah, thanks for bringing in your little rainy day for fun for boys and girls CD here or whatever.
So part of you is thrilled that
Yes.
you get to be the angry guy on the
Sure,
talk
like
show,
Letterman.
even
Yeah.
though you're legitimately angry.
Yeah, because normally
Totally
I'm not
get it.
angry on the show. Normally
Right.
I'm making other people angry.
Right.
So
So wait, did you ever resolve it with this guy?
not really. But you know, I've tried to resolve it because, like, you know, whenever I've talked about it, you know, on occasion over the years, I always let him know. Right now, I'll let him know if he's listening. Jesse James Dupree, no hard feelings. I was actually super happy that this happened. You know,
Right. But
Yeah.
angry.
happy that I was
Happy
angry.
that you were so
happy
angry.
that I was angry.
How
yeah.
long was your show on?
This show was on for not. You know, we did 60 episodes.
Did you
But
get
it was-
canceled or you quit?
This one got canceled. Yeah, this one got canceled. I never really kind of understood why. I mean, I guess it was doing well, but maybe
Probably expensive.
yeah,
Ah, maybe,
new show
right?
every day.
New desk every day.
I think what it was MTV is very, they really like to control everything that goes on the air.
Yes.
And I think it was just stressful for them because, you know, every night, you know, they couldn't control every word. You know, I would talk for an hour, so it was happening too fast for them to be able to manage the show. So I think it was just driving them nuts.
It also
Yeah.
strikes me, and I don't know because I've never worked at MTV, but it might be a little bit difficult to mature at MTV because they're constantly going after young. So you're like, I've kind of outgrown the old show. I want to grow up into something that, not that this is like, you know, for 50-year-olds, but this is a little bit more adult
Yeah, you know,
than the old show.
we had lots of great guests, and I remember we'd like, you know, tons of great guests. We had Marilyn Manson, Lincoln Park, all sorts of like really cool people on. I honestly think they should have kept it on, obviously, but I think that's what it was. I think it was just difficult for them to deal with what happened last night on the show.
Right.
You know,
Was this the dream? Is this why you went to broadcast school so you could do a talk show?
I think it was the dream, but now I don't think I want to do that. You know,
Really?
because I just the nightly talk show.
Right.
'Cause
Did you keep the desk, by the way?
I do still have the desk. We rebuilt the desk, and I have the desk, and it's in my garage.
But the next day on the show, I mean.
The next day on the show, it was like that for about a week, yeah. And then on the weekend, we had it recovered, and then yeah, we had to have the desk like that for, I think it was a few days. It was like that, yeah.
Did you just get pissed every time you saw it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, yeah, I would have too.
Still angry about it.
Just looking at it. Yeah,
still angry about it.